Yeah, if you look on like Team Liquid and some of the discords and stuff, you can usually find a decent number of replays. All right, so in the bottom right-hand corner, as our holy shit, as our blue Protoss, we have Musapa, aka Rain, and in the top right-hand corner of the map, as our brown Zerg, we have Jaedong, who is otherwise known as JD, otherwise known as Jaedong. So, obviously, for a long time, the best Zerg in the world, and honestly, you could make a pretty good argument he was at least the most skilled Zerg in the history of Brood War. You could make an argument that Savior was the greatest Zerg of all time, but I don't think you could make the argument that Savior was the best Zerg of all time. Peak skill, I think, has to go to Jaedong. But, of course, now JD struggles a bit with his wrists and some other stuff, can't play with quite the mechanics he once was able to. So not always at his best, but you will see days where it's like some days he just has it, and it does remind you of peak Jaedong, but not all the time. No, this is not BSL Gosu League. Unfortunately, there were a lot of walkovers. There were only 3 BSL Gosu League games today, so that was all we had to cast of that. So we're just doing a few more replays, so we're not just streaming for like 30 minutes and being like, oh, okay, well that's all we got time for. All right, so we have a gate first here from Rain. And of course, Third World, if you guys aren't familiar with the map, if you guys didn't see 2 seasons ago of ASL, Third World's got a pretty interesting setup. It's sort of a normal ground map on this side, but there's this divisor here in the middle that is just, islanded off. There's no places you can cross. And then, so you had this whole side, so it was kind of split into 2 sides that you needed to cross with shuttles, but you were only naturally allowed access via land into the right-hand side of the map. So the left-hand side of the map requires drop, shuttles, etc., etc., and so there's a variety of ways you can play the map. You can play for one side. Some players would try to go quickly for the other side, like we can see. Now you might ask, well, you said no land access. How do you get a hatchery over here? Well, there's a mineral here. And this is not as impermeable as you would think. If you click the mineral, drones and workers will pass through here, and that allowed him to get a hatch over on the other side. So already we can see that JD wants to have a hatch on this side. So the upside is that Rain will not have immediate access to this hatch with any ground harassment. The downside to this is that against any pressure, like Ling's mate over here cannot reinforce to this side. You cannot get Lings through this gate. And we did see players try before to glitch some units through that, and all of them were completely and thoroughly unable to ever get any unit other than a drone through this little thing. So you click this mineral or that mineral, and then you pass on through. So the Zealot's coming in looking for a little bit of harass. Lings are out now for JD. And, Rains is going to be annoying. So this is like putting a Zealot kind of behind the minerals, but instead on the ramp. And with a probe behind it, it's a pretty strong combination. JD would likely lose several Lings, probably 3 or 4 at this, and JD is going to get blocked out here. And now 2 Zealots on the ramp. Very, very difficult to attack with Zerglings. So, yeah, if JD wants out, he's going to need to make a decent number of Lings, and that's exactly what he's being forced to do right now. Going into that Ling speed, we'll see if he tries to send Lings in one by one to attack and pull them back. That's most likely what he'll do to deal with this. And in the meantime, we actually see a very unusual Cybercore wall. The forge presumably being made in base, and indeed we see that is exactly what is going on. Oh yeah, you're right, and I apologize. Sapa is not Rain. Sapa is indeed Mini. That was my mistake. Jaedong trying to glitch those Zealots away, but not quite able to get them all the way out of the way, so we can see already 3 or 4 Lings and a drone have died to this, so the efficiency very nice here for Mini. And these Zealots are still not dead. Look at all the Lings JD's had to make. This is definitely not what JD wants. Now he's going for a more committed drill here, and he is able to shove his Zealot off, but nice target firing from Mini. And then finally JD will get down. He's going to surround this and then immediately run across the map. And remember, his speed is about to kick in here. He is also making a Spire. Now he has been droning on this side, but it's going to be a little bit intense. Mini is going to block off here. He's going to have 2 cannons going down. There might be enough time, though, that JD can pick off one of these buildings. Probably not quite, though. And the second cannon is smart because, obviously, then the Lings could just absolutely go to town on the building. Like, one cannon, if you keep making Lings, can easily pick off a building like this. And it looks like Mini just wants to block. He knows he can't save his gateway. I think JD will commit to killing the gateway and then possibly run in, but probably not. Oh, wow, nice. Even better. The second JD didn't run in. Mini just quickly rebuilds the gateway to get that wall up. And now with 2 cannons, Mini will be very safe. And JD has quite a bit of banked gas. So probably we're going to see Muta here from 2 hatch. But we have a Stargate on the way here for Mini. No sign of +1 weapons yet. And no sign of cannons being added. Now, does a second Corsair start immediately or reasonably immediately? That's going to be an important question. There's the cannon. And yes, does start the second Corsair. JD coming down here, taking a 3rd hatch. Yeah, this would be from ASL Season 5. So this would be about 10 months old. So played in the reasonably recent past. These would have been training games here. The Lings from JD coming on down. But again, nothing they can really get done here, and now the Corsair Scout is going to arrive from Mini. He's going to take a look, and JD is actually, well, he's planning to make Muta for sure. Never mind, he has made Scourge. Oh, we have a bit of a trap being set up. Is Mini? Nope. Totally did not expect that, so that is a very nice start from JD. And no surprise to see this, though, to see the carapace here from JD. Because, well, it's an island map, and so having air dominance is a huge deal, a huge advantage, and will almost invariably be needed, and no chance for Zerg to keep air dominance against Corsair heavy play if their upgrades aren't decent. I mean, if, you know, Mini commits to, like, double Stargates, and JD doesn't at least get armor, the Corsairs will just run rampant. You can throw any number of Muta at them, even from a surround or anything like that, and Corsairs will just destroy them with +1 if there's not an armor upgrade. So a completely necessary upgrade there. And right now, looking at how both players are playing, we'll probably see a Robo from Mini. You'll probably see Sayers, Reavers, Shuttles, and Drops. Mini's not going to just kind of take this side and let JD run around with his Muta and take the entire left side. We can see JD is expanding what would seem like extremely aggressively. And the reasoning behind this is that JD intends to grab the gases pretty fast, most likely, and make a bunch of Muta and Scourge, and possibly Devourers, and maybe Guardians or something later on. But we're going to see a very air battle, aerial contested game here, and Mini will probably try to deal with that with his Corsairs, and then, of course, getting Reavers or Shuttles out and harassing and trying to stop the bases from JD over here on the left side of the map. And Mini is already at that 5 Corsairs, and you'll see... all right, intercepts those Scourge. Okay, gets them cleanly. And I'm actually curious. Alright. Oh, okay, so Mini wisely turns around. He actually could turn around and kill those Scourge now, but not going to take the risk. Has enough Corsairs. Nice little bit of juking there from Mini. And yeah, just going to hunt down those Scourge, but JD just looking for little intercepts here. Let's see if he does take that gas quickly. We've got a few more hatcheries just for production's sake. Overlords, we see no sign of a Hydra Den, so that does make me think the gas will be taken reasonably soon for JD. Now he's probably going to add a few drones first. We can see his gas balance. Gas to mineral balance right now is okay for the moment, but he will eventually need to add them. And actually no Muta yet, just almost pure Scourge. So that's part of what's keeping that balance reasonable. And of course now the Reavers are starting for Mini. Fortunately for JD, this is Mini, not Snow. Doesn't have to deal with absolute god tier Reaver usage. Not that Mini is bad. In fact, Mini is a pretty decent harasser and Reaver user, but not crazy. And JD actually seems a bit surprised. Didn't quite expect these Zealots that soon. The Muta now out, but the Corsairs are going to come over here, and this is basically just a buy time. I don't think... Oh, wow, JD is actually going to commit to trying to kill the Zealots with this. It looks like he's bought enough time. Scourge come in, almost get the intercept, and he actually does get a Corsair out of it, but there's still a lot of Corsair alive. This Overlord is obviously going to die incredibly fast. The 1 armor is done now. Will there be any hurry to go to Hive for JD? No. And no Fleet Beacon for +2 from Mini. No guarantees we'll get that much of an aerial commitment game. And Mini actually wants a base on this side. Thinks that with his air dominance, he can comfortably hold expansions on this side. And now, of course, obviously JD going into full swing Muta production. Again, as we mentioned, primarily gas that JD wants out of these bases. You actually don't need crazy drone counts to make high numbers of Muta. It's a lot more about having those gas bases. But just wants the gas to be able to make significant numbers of Muta. And, of course, to add in a few Scourge to go for surrounds. And now the Reaver is out for Mini. Let's find that Robo. Shuttle speed about to kick in. Probably going to wait for that before he actually flies on the other side. And then this is just a very technical and APM intensive focused base play here from Protoss, because one moment of inattentivity and the shuttle just easily falls down. Now JD's got a Sunken already in place. Reaver drops. Sunken's going to help soak a little bit of that and actually target firing this down, but is he out of position? A lot of Scourge coming in, and that's pretty good for JD, as Mini sloppily losing 3 or 4 Corsairs now. He doesn't get the shuttle, so that part is good for me. Trying to just range down that Sunken, but the Reaver decides to derp a little bit. And the meter from JD just a little bit out of position. Now we do see the second armor upgrade going, and then we might see a transition to Hive actually to get that third armor up. And Mini also starts his +2 air attack, which means there should be a fleet beacon. And a third Stargate, so we do have an extreme commitment to airbase play from both players. And in comes a wide number of Scourge. They're going to get the shuttle. Maybe not. No, JD just wants to focus the Corsairs. And he does get a lot of them, but not all of them. And then the second round of major Scourge coming in, but again, not able to find all of the Corsairs. But the Corsair numbers are being kept quite low. But of course, with 3 Stargates of Corsair production, they will replenish to dangerous numbers rather rapidly. And again, nothing but pure air. Actually, we do finally see a Hydra Den being made. Now, whether or not that means Hydra will be made or Lurkers will be made remains to be seen. But yeah, Mini does have 3 gas, so that part is good. That's part of why he can afford to power hard off of these 3 Stargates and get a few Reavers mixed into his composition. And JD with reasonable numbers. Now he's got that +2 done and should be getting closer. So this is a pretty good window right now for JD with 2 armor against 1 attack. That means the Corsairs are actually pretty weak, and the splash won't be quite as insane as always. JD comes in here, camps the cannons, going to get a few of these Corsair down early, but now without any Scourge, this should be a big enough Corsair fleet that Jaedong probably isn't going to try to take this on, even with his armor advantage. But we can see the Muta aren't evaporating like we have sometimes seen in other times, and the shuttles get in and then get out, but weren't able to kill much. We see 0 drone blood there, and now JD will turn around with the Scourge, but Mini is ready for that and moves back himself. JD also pulling the Scourge off of these shuttles. Going to kill this pylon over here, and I mean, JD right now looks to be in an okay position. He does have a lot of bases. I mean, he's on 5 gas, so that's not a bad spot to be in, but it's still a little bit, I don't know how to describe it, but tenuous. That's a lot of Scourge coming in, though, but unfortunately the Muta very clumped up, but more and more Scourge coming in, but JD is going to lose a lot of them, and this is what I mean by tenuous. JD's position is good, but if he suddenly loses air dominance, it can become very difficult to recover from this sort of a position, even with his economy, which is why we see a few Hydra are being added, and it looks like JD is about ready to switch out of Muta now that he's lost that air dominance. There's probably a drop upgrade in progress if he doesn't have it already. And then, of course, the other challenge, if JD does go out of heavy air, is just keeping all the Overlords alive. There's the drop upgrade. And here comes the Reavers. Gonna get the shuttles, and there's a few Hydra out, but they are not fully upgraded yet. So the Reavers are likely to kill this base. And in the meantime, JD trying to harass over here. He's bringing up a few Hydra to add to the DPS. That'll actually really force the Corsairs away. But JD is going to lose a base here. And he's also going to lose this hatchery that is, I guess, building. And so Mini with some nice harass over here. And these Muta need to get out. Oh, can they get an intercept on this shuttle? He's going to go for the Reaver. He looks like he might get it, but the pickup is good. And JD just switching the damage around a little bit. But right now, Mini getting some very nice harass down here against JD. And Scourge coming in. Overlords now are going to get sniped over here. And JD having a little bit of trouble holding onto his bases, a little bit of trouble dealing with these Reavers here. And again, that's that loss of air dominance. And Mini has caught him kind of in the transition here, where JD did not have his Hydra ups out or in decent enough numbers to be able to really effectively zone out or deal with the Reavers. I mean, if you have 4 Hydra and 2 Reaver get dropped, like, it's very, very difficult to kill them, especially with Shuttle Micro. And without any air dominance, Mini is free to just kind of run around here. Nice use of the Corsairs there, but he does lose one. And I mean, JD can continue to throw Scourge at the Corsairs, but he can't do much besides that. And remember, because he was playing heavily air dominant focused, his drone count is very low, which is pretty badly limiting his Hydra production. You know, he doesn't have the 50 or 60 drones that you might expect from a normal Zerg. And oh no, if these Reavers are able to sneak in here and target off some wonderful Scarabs, they're just going to evaporate these Hydra, and that's what he's doing. Huge Scarabs going down. The shuttle pickups can be used. Look at that, 2 Scarabs just demolished this nice burrow from JD. But now we got a few Muta coming in here to harass. We've got ground upgrades started. No ground upgrades from Mini yet, and I doubt we'll see them. Because I think he's just going to stick primarily to his air dominance. And now Mini using these Reavers here up on top of the high ground to take this base. There are 2 ramps of entrances, but JD doesn't have enough units to really abuse that. Looking for a Corsair with the Scourge, and we can see the +2 attack there. No +3 attack, probably not +2 or +3 air armor. In fact, definitely not, because you need a Greater Spire to get that. You need a Hive. Does not have that. And now just throwing up a few cannons over here at this side. And JD looking to swing around. But I don't think he really has enough to break up here. He definitely would have to abuse both sides. If he can get up here with these Hydra before the cannons and get right on top of the Reaver. Ah, tries to unburrow, but the Reavers are there waiting. And actually, is JD going to counter down here? Yes, no shuttle, but that's a lot of cannons. I don't think that's enough Hydra mass to just rip through those cannons. Actually, I take that back. JD's going to drop. Oh, if he would have had drop a little bit sooner, he actually could have dropped on those Reavers and likely could have broken it, but he's going to drop to the main. But will it get intercepted? That's going to be a decent Hydra loss if it does. It's not everything JD has, but definitely does get reasonably intercepted Reavers over 4 Reavers. This should shut this down. Maybe the Hydra can go around and be a little bit annoying. Look how much cannon fire they took. And as long as Mini doesn't do something stupid, he's got to be careful. JD does to get on top of those. Will probably get 1 Reaver, but actually I think the pickups were spot on. Has he lost any of the Reavers? Yeah, he's lost 1, but that's not too bad. Cleans up that entire drop with pretty minimal losses here. Supply's still pretty high from JD, who's now going to swing in, trying to break the front. Reaver there for defense, but only 2 cannons, and also swinging in from the other side. And the Reavers are not there, but the Hydra will need to be microed here. This is enough Hydra to take out the cannons if they target fire. And it looks like, actually, despite the target firing, not... Okay, well, just barely able to get those Reavers down and defend. I honestly thought without the target firing, they weren't going to be able to take down the cannons. But honestly, without anything to buffer, Hydra are pretty good against cannons. I'm sure every Protoss out there has had that experience where they have like 8 cannons and they get control busted or get Hydra busted by a like control group of Hydras. That does happen sometimes, particularly if there's nothing there to buffer and you can't get good probe pulls and the target firing goes well and your cannon auto-targeting goes bad. So Mini holds on to this base, and this is getting tough. Whoa, okay, JD trying to drop on the high ground, but Mini's just like, no, I'm going to drop my Reavers right on top of it. And very easy for Mini to swing back. And this is the power of these shuttles. These bases are all very close and connected by air. And with this complete air dominance here from Mini, it's very hard for JD to deal with all these Reavers, because all these bases are kind of choky and easy to hold on to with the splash damage. And Mini is abusing the hell out of it. But JD has expanded a lot, and he has definitely ecoed up now. So the supply and the number of units for Jaedong is quite good. Now, he could use another base or 2, and that would be great. But this base is about to get shut down, because JD is focused on this base. And with a Reaver in here, almost able to shoot at the Hydra right as they come up, I don't think this will be enough, but if he's got some Hydra to drop on top of this, this could be enough to break the base. But at the same time, we do have the harass going over here. Mini is going to opt to turn around and defend this way. The drop does allow JD to target the Reaver. It forces the run of the probes. Pretty good move, but at the same time, Mini decides not to come back here and try to defend this. Hydra 2 spread out is going to focus, just going to take down this hatchery. So we're going to trade a base for a base. JD still has a lot of mining, and Mini is going to swing around here, but guess who is ready to defend that? Well, Jaedong is in position. That's how you need to deal with this. Muta picking a bad spot to fly, but JD's not ready for the Reavers to be dropped over here. Does get one of the shuttles and a couple of Corsairs, but the Reaver going to town here on the drones, and the drones need to get over to a different base, but nope, that Scarab will dud. And no production here for JD. Minerals really high. JD somehow actually low on gas, which is really surprising given the bases he has. Well, I guess he's low on gas because he just made all those Muta. Never mind, it's less surprising now. And now the Muta looking for the shuttle. They'll just come here and clean up the Reavers. The lair will not fall. Perhaps ran out of Scarabs there, or Reavers did something stupid, and Mini trying to get away with those Corsairs. And it looks like he will be able to be just fine here. He's going to fly back over his cannons. JD not paying attention to these Scourge, and unable to kill off the Corsairs. So air dominance still in Mini's hands, but with this base cleaned up now, Mini looks like he's starting to run pretty dry. He looked to be in such a solid position, but then moved out to harass right when JD was attacking, and JD was able to get this nice drop in here. You wouldn't think that would work. You'd think, oh, there's Reavers there dropping on top of this, and it doesn't work very well if there are some Corsair and some Storms ready to go down, so that your Overlords just evaporate. But if you can get the drop off, you'd be surprised, particularly if there's some Defilers in there, how good drops can actually be for breaking Entrenched Protoss' positions, even with a little bit of splash. And especially with just one Reaver, JD was able to do that. And now we have this drop here from Mini, and this is pretty important. Finally, we see D-Web. I honestly thought we were going to see that sooner. This will be incredibly hard to break right now, but unless there's enough Muta and Air to do this, he's trying to spread it. He has got 2 upgrades here, and it looks like the Muta are pretty well spread out, and Scourge are coming in, which is going to finish off the air dominance, and that means JD will clean it up with a brilliant decision to back switch into Muta here. Mini was not expecting those numbers. The Burrow saves the drones, and that's a pretty huge save for JD, because that means that almost all of Mini's Corsairs are wiped out, and he's mining only now from this one tiny base, and that honestly feels like sort of Mini's last gasp. Had he shut down this base, okay, maybe it wouldn't have been so bad, but JD still would have been mining 3.5 bases because of all the harass that's going on, and just losing this base is proving to be a pivotal issue for Mini. And the Muta are just going to easily repel this slow lot attack here, along with 3 Sunkens was never going to do anything. And we're going to have another round of Corsair harass. I mean, the fleet does replenish pretty quickly with 3 Stargates still pumping, but Mini's dried up, so those 3 Stargates are going to stop pumping. We're going to slide in here for a little bit of harass. What's the goal here? Hydras, drones, I don't know, but JD has a pretty solid economy behind this supply, dropping quite a lot here for Mini, and JD looks like he's got plenty of Scourge here. JD's going to split those up, and the Muta come back, and he could just pin the Corsair in yet again, because that is so many Scourge. Looks like JD's actually going to be okay with losing the hatchery. Doesn't want to get hasty, take a stupid engagement, because even with all of this, if you come in from the wrong angle, it can easily get vaporized if you get hasty. So JD does need to be careful, but then he can just absolutely wipe this out. And just as I say, he needs to be careful, he unexpectedly walks in, but he's going to go for the ensnare, and that's going to slow the Corsairs down tremendously. And now they have nowhere to run, and their attack rate is also slowed, so that's going to allow the Scourge to probably connect. Beautiful surround there, eliminating quite a few of the Corsair, but perhaps not the ideal Scourge connections, or maybe there was over a control group of Corsairs there, I'm not sure. But they can't really run away now, and JD with another fleet of Scourge. Will they unensnare in time for the Scourge? It's going to be dangerously close, but no, they won't. So these Scourge are just going to devour Corsairs, leaving just 2 alive. The shuttle's still alive, and JD, I mean, he does, or Mini has shut down another base, but JD is still mining off of almost 5 bases. Light mining here. Those are about to end, though, but we still see mining there, robust mining there, pretty robust mining down here. So honestly, it's a lot of economy. Mini is going to make a ploy for this base again, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to hold that, especially given that JD still has access to tons of gas and has been doing a wonderful job killing the Corsairs. And we do have 2 more Reaver about to pop. JD loading up a big drop over here, though. Where is he going to go? Is he just going to try to drop on the Reavers along with some Hydra moving in here and just completely break the front? Because if he breaks the Reavers, there's 0 ground army, and the front will fall if there's Hydra left over. Obviously, Corsairs can't kill air. Or perhaps JD is just going to attack over at this base. He's looking around with the Scourge, wants to make sure that there are no Corsairs to intercept this drop, and will just drop right on top of these Reavers. So you can say sayonara to those guys. I mean, a few Hydra will fall, but if this drop is even reasonably microed, the Hydra spread from the drop will immediately kill the Reavers. There doesn't even seem to be Corsairs, so any attempt to take this base is shut down. Mini supply, less than half of Jaedong's now. We have a last bit of harass over here, and it did kill quite a few drones. JD did burrow the top drones, but the shuttle goes down, and there are 3 Reavers, but the Hydra are going to split up, kill those off, and GG is imminent. And there we go. Mini says GG, and Jaedong comes back from the dead, able to take that game.